So now that you know kind of how all of this works, let's talk about this data set and let's talk about some of the limitations of ChatGPT. First off, there's some general ethical limitations of ChatGPT. They're not going to tell you where best to bury a body. It also often will stay away from political topics just because they're so controversial. You'll find that one of the fun things about ChatGPT is you can actually have it create creative writings for you. It will never make a creative writing where something bad happens to a political figure. It'll never create a creative writing where it gives you a specific way to dispose of a body, to make drugs, anything like that. It does have, on the entire board of OpenAI, they have an ethics board and they try to regulate some of these things. So there are certain kind of just topics that don't get talked about. Another one of the limitations is it is limited in the total amount of data. Now, you would say, oh, so it's not perfect in terms of knowledge. It's pretty close to perfect in terms of knowledge. We currently are on ChatGPT 4.0, and this is January of 2025. I'm sure there'll be a ChatGPT 5.0 at some point in the near future. They don't talk to you about ChatGPT 4.0. Very little data has been given out about that. But ChatGPT 3.0, which debuted in 2024, you can find out a lot about how they built this. So when we talk about data sets, a data set can be one word or it can be an entire encyclopedia worth of knowledge. It's just simply a different data point that they use. ChatGPT 3.0 for 3 months, ending in October of 2023, compiled 750 billion data points. Now, I had seen on a video that this was described as if you're an average reader and you began reading right now and you read 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it would take you 2,600 years to read the amount of data that ChatGPT had processed in that 3-month period. I then went back and I asked ChatGPT if this was a metaphor that was useful. Is this actually how much data? And ChatGPT corrected me and said, whoever made that video was assuming that each data point was a page, as if ChatGPT had analyzed 750 billion pages of data. And ChatGPT told me that's not accurate. It's probably more than that. So I said, well, can you give me a comparison? Is it like reading every single thing in the Library of Congress? Is it like reading every single piece of text that has ever been made in the history of America? And ChatGPT responded and said, it is so much more than both of those. Maybe if I want the Library of Congress metaphor, it would be like taking every single thing in the Library of Congress, every word, every page, every piece of text, every single digital entry into the Library of Congress, every single piece of information in the Library of Congress, and reading it 1,000,000 times. It would be like every single piece of text ever made in the history of the United States that was written down and reading it several times over. This is enormous. This means that ChatGPT isn't pulling from a small data set when it's making these predictive texts and giving you answers. It's pulling from pretty much every single doctoral dissertation ever made, every single article that was ever in Time magazine, every single editorial that was in every single newspaper in the history of the world. It's almost incomprehensible to think of. It also sorts through things that like Reddit, which have postings that you could post nonsense. But because of the enormity of the data set, it can work its way through things that are true and things that are total garbage. It's actually quite amazing when you think about it. But because of this, because of the data set that it incorporated in ChatGPT 3.0 did end in October of 2023, it doesn't update that data set, all of that deeply mined data that has been analyzed anymore after the point when their data set ends. Except in ChatGPT 4.0, which is the one that we're using currently, it does have a feature where it will look at live news. So very tragically, on the day that I'm making this video, the previous day, there had been a commercial plane crash. So I asked ChatGPT, if your data set ended in October of 2023, you don't know anything about yesterday's plane crash. And it immediately told me, I do, but my sources can't yet be perfectly confirmed, so understand that you should do your own research on the following topic. and then it immediately told me absolutely everything that was in the news about the plane crash from the previous day. When you ask it questions of things that are still ongoing, it takes both data set that it has built and current live news feed, and it runs them together. Because of this, it is now slowly becoming like a living, breathing method of communication, of talking to something that can give you answers on something that's still unfolding. I'll do one more video in this unit or this level, and it's going to be, well, what's it look like when you put in a prompt? What does ChatGPT look like? And I'll mention this again. I am using the free version of ChatGPT. ChatGPT 4.0 right now has a limited amount of time that you can use it daily. You usually get about 15 prompts before it kicks you back to ChatGPT 3.0. So it doesn't stop operating, it just kicks you back to a previous version of ChatGPT. If you ever do want to use it for just constantly, you're probably going to want to buy the subscription, which currently is $20 a month. There are some added features and things like that. But because of this class, and you're probably a novice with ChatGPT, I'm going to be using the free version as much as possible to show you exactly what you can do for zero cost to you.